Hello, my name is Klaudia. I'm a graduate student intern at Dempster Therapeutic Services, and I want to talk a little bit about how to best practice speech at home. So to start off, we want to create the most positive connotation and positive environment for communication. So the best way to start that is to provide a lot of examples of language. That means it is important to be very descriptive of maybe what your child is doing or what you are doing yourself. That could mean describing what you're doing or describing how your child is playing. Mainly just using as much language and speech as possible, so that they have as many examples to learn from. The next tip that I have is to provide choices for your children. So if your child may have difficulty using their words to describe what they want, it may be helpful to provide choices for them so that they are able to easier recognize what it is that they want. My next tip is to praise any verbal communication attempt. So even if it's an unsuccessful communication attempt, it's very important to have a very positive reaction to it and praise them. We want to have as much positive connotation to the speech, so it's important to use positive reinforcement. My next tip that I have is to play as much as you can with your children, and that includes using sound effects and common phrases in play so that they hopefully catch on to those phrases and begin using them themselves. Additionally, it's important to sometimes remember to pause, slow down your own speech, and maybe rephrase or repeat yourself when your child may not be understanding what you're saying. We have to remember that children are very new to language and they are still learning how exactly to process language, so they may need some time to really process it before they provide a response. My next tip is to try to model correct sounds as much as possible. So for example, if your child says something incorrectly, such as, I see a cat instead of I see a cat, it's important to respond back to that, oh yes, I see the cat. That way you are not making them feel negative about the way that they communicated, but you are providing a positive model and the correct sound. My next tip that I have is to try to use simple speech, but keeping it adult-like so that your child can understand it. You don't need to have baby talk, but we do want to keep it simple and not too complex. My last tip that I have is to not force your child to communicate. We do not want to demand speech out of our children because, once again, we do not want any negative connotation, and adding too much pressure may end up creating a negative connotation with communication versus the positive one that we want. Those are all of my tips for today.